and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast, episode 538. My name's Adam Cook. I'm your host, and every week that passes by, with every intro to a podcast I see, I find myself going, that was this year? Is that not the case, Chris Hyde?
Do you know what, right? Because, hello, by the way.
Hello,
yeah,
mate.
because we're getting close to Game of the Year, we're obviously now having to look back on the year and think about how we're feeling. You go, games from January and February this year, you're like, nah, that wasn't this. Like, yeah, it was. And it's like, there's a lot of games this year, man. So many games.
There are, and one of them I was looking at just then going, was that definitely this year? Is one you reviewed, Lyle. That was Octopath Traveler 2, and that was this year, mate. How are you?
It sure was. I'm good. The reason I feel like I now know that all these games are this year is because I feel like I've covered the DLC for about 10 of them at this point.
yeah.
That just keeps happening. Everyone seems to be very cleverly in the October, November months to be like, hey, do you want to remember that game you really liked?
Don't forget us.
And I mean, it's working for me. Like Resident Evil 4 and that Separate Ways DLC, that made me go, shit, Resident Evil 4 was great. And that was this year. That again was this year.
Yeah, it was. Wow. Well, let's stick with the DLC theme because
what else was this year that was DLC?
Yeah,
Adam?
at the time of recording, we've been playing an awful lot of Remnant 2. It's called The Awakened King. Now we've made no secret or no. It's no surprise that I'm going to say that we've enjoyed. All of us pretty much have enjoyed Remnant 2, that little known game that no one had ever heard of before. Remnant 2 is fantastic. Remnant 2, the DLC. Now, before we get really into it, I'm curious. I know, Lyle, you haven't played the DLC. Chris, you have. Mm-hmm. What did you want from DLC for Remnant 2?
Who are you asking?
You, sorry. I mean, Lyle hasn't played it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So what I wanted from DLC, obviously, the main game is split into, I want to say, 4 worlds, technically. 4?
I think so, right?
Three and a half.
You're including the one that is not in any way procedurally. Yeah. Right. No, in that case, it's 5 then, isn't it? If you're saying that Lost 2.
Yeah, sorry, 5 if you count the end one. Yeah, 5.
Oh, then in fact, 6.
What?
The maze and stuff, the one that you have to do that's always the same for everyone.
So there's
technically
shitloads.
There's lots of work, there's lots of content in that game.
Yeah, but again, the reason why I say that is because basically I was looking for and that gives you, I guess, the way you go through the game is you go through not random. Well, it is in the sense that it's designed, but you're rolling a dice, and one run you might see certain things, and another run you see other things. You don't see everything in every run. So for DLC, I was expecting either a new world, and we don't quite get that, but we get a lot of extra bits to kind of see and do. And I would have liked one or two more archetypes, and I got one. So maybe I was highballing it. I don't know, but that's what I'd have wanted. I want to go back into the world, be interested, and be stumped a little bit because this game likes its secrets, and shoot the shit out of stuff I haven't seen before, and it feel good. And against that metric, it does a pretty good job.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. Yeah, so this DLC is set in, I believe, Lossum. Is that pronunciation?
I have no idea. Le Son. I have no idea, but that one.
The French world of Remnant.
the French Bloodborne looking one.
I was going to say the Bloodborne one. I don't know where the French bit came from there, if I'm honest, but fine. It's a French Bloodborne. I always give
you a fun pronunciation.
You did, yeah. But it's the kind of dark Bloodborne-y, the Dran and stuff like that. Yeah, to be honest with you, because when I very first started the game, I got the, what would you call it, the highborn, the kind of...
The Fey one.
The Fey version of that.
Yeah.
So when you and Mick were originally talking about it, I think, Lyle, didn't you get... No, you got the...
Yeah, that was my first world as well.
You all got that
version,
one.
Yeah.
And at that point, you were all talking about that. I was like, what
I was getting so angry, because I was like, no, I'm in Lowson.
Yeah, no, I am. It's castles.
And you were no, I'm in it.
But the thing is...
There's a creepy asylum and
Look, the asylum bit. I was like, "What are you talking about? There's none of this in this." And then obviously, that's the kind of magic.
Flying elves and stuff, and I was like, "What is he on about?"
And it wouldn't be unlike me to have gotten that wrong. I just hadn't for once. Anyway, the Awakened King is set there. It ties in story wise. No, I'm not even going to try actually to do that. I'm just going to say it ties in story wise.
It does apparently.
It adds. I think it's even more Bloodborne than the original Dran.
So I've been thinking about
Blossom.
this. I've been thinking about this, right? Because I've played it a couple of times. We've tried to play through it together, right?
Yeah.
And
But we haven't tried. We have played.
well, yeah, that sounds like we failed to do multiplayer.
It
Sorry,
worked
yeah,
and we
have
did play it
successfully
together, yeah.
achieved multiplayer, and like it fits like the story wise. The thing I like about this DLC is like, especially Loathsome Dran, the bloody one. It feels very contained. Like every kind of
that's fair.
edge of the available space is like a tall building, right? It just
Yeah,
is,
it
or
blocks you in
sewer
a
or
bit.
something,
It does
right?
block you in.
So you get blocked. I hadn't really realised that when I was
No,
playing
nor
it,
have I until you've just said it.
literally, I mean, this isn't really a spoiler. The opening of like the DLC is literally you're right by the sea. So it's like that's like a dock version of the.
See,
the.
This is what I'm saying. You don't remember the Bloodborne DLC, do you?
No, you were
Because I
telling me
think
all about
that's-
this, and I can't
This
remember
is so,
it in
like,
my
in
head.
the
I need to
Bloodborne
go and-
DLC, you
Yeah.
go through like a fishing village that's all like this, and that's
Yeah.
like, and it sounds like I'm complaining, and I'm not at all, because like
No.
I'm very much of the opinion. Look, if you won't make any more Bloodborne, I'm happy for someone else to do that.
Yeah, but it sounds stupid, right? Because it is literally like, oh, it's this village now lives by the sea, rather than just all being blocked in by buildings you can't get to. But it just made it feel more kind of alive and real, and actually something that existed. And then the other bit, which I really liked, is in the base game, you just sort of, for want of a better word, teleport between Loathsome Dre and Loathsome Jan and Loathsome Faye, don't you? You're either in Bloodborne or you're in Analondo, and that's it, right? Whereas in the DLC, you literally can make your way from one to the other.
So not to constantly compare it to FromSoft, but that bit reminds me kind of do you know the start of Elden Ring when you're working your way through up to the top of the castle?
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot, and again, I've no issue with people paying homage to that design.
No,
idea
and
they do it well.
I think as well, but what I guess the point I'm trying to make is I think it's a completely separate, but there's enough here where you go, oh, that's from that, and so it's one of those DLCs where it's really good for fans who have played Remnant to death and want more, like we are. But I also think this will be one of those, because I know what the intention is for it to all be one package together.
Yes.
As a game that just has more levels, if you like, as a big package, as a complete edition or whatever.
Yeah,
and
if you were starting the game, if you were starting the game brand new with all the DLC included so far,
yes, you could
roll
this
in any combination of, which is cool.
And I think it slots in really well, because it makes those two confusingly named but very different worlds. It joins them together with this extra sort of level and does it in a really cool way. And it feels probably as well like the most vertical of the ones, without like loads of lifts, right? Because there's lifts in other ones that take you quite high, but actually real traversal of verticality, like lots of ladders and cliffs and stuff, because it's by the sea and stuff. But like, I think the level design in that respect is quite cool, that it just adds a different dimension to kind of the traverse and the place that you're exploring. It doesn't feel the same. Now, obviously, there were still a few times we were like, I've seen this particular tile before, because it's not like every single tile in the DLC is unique. But on the flip side, what that means is the tiles that are new fit really nicely into the existing tiles, if you know what I mean. So they've managed to kind of join the Lego pieces together, if you like, really well, because it's only get to a certain bit, you're like, oh, I recognize this particular corner. I've definitely been to this bit before, but then the next bit I haven't seen. It's quite new. It's quite clever the way they've.
I think the times I did notice that they seem to be more like transitional parts of the level as well, rather than the set pieces. It was more like when you're moving through a section.
There's a lot of main chunks which are 100% new.
Also, sorry. We mentioned the new archetype. We mentioned there's obviously new weapons and new gear that you get was all part of that. Lots of new enemies. Like you get the usual like aberration bosses, but there's I don't know. We can talk about this. Lots of bosses in Remnant 2. I think two of my favourite might be in the DLC. Like I really like the main boss. I'm not going to say any more about that because it is a spoiler, and we'll just leave that there. That's a cool fight. There is a boss, I guess, like the halfway point boss, that gave me so many different vibes from so many different like shooters and horror games. Like I had Resident Evil vibes. All I'll say is I had Resident Evil 4 vibes of kind of like chainsaw sections, like where you're.
I was trying to think which boss you meant. Now I know what you mean. Sorry,
where
like,
you sort of.
Yeah, I know what you mean now.
You don't have the room to maneuver you do in other boss fights.
I don't want to say it, but there's a Bloodborne boss a bit like that as well. I don't want to keep saying it.
Probably is. But like that, there's those two bosses. I think I really, really like the one I'm not. I like them both. There's loads of new enemies. Like yes, you are still shooting the kind of just a Dran, generic Dran, but there are also like Lyle. You know when the music ramps up and it throws you like Mr. Chainsaw Guy at you. That's not a chainsaw guy, but he's a chainsaw guy. There's like 3, 4?
At least 3 new ones.
Yeah, like completely new, sort of, what would you call them, elites, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I don't know.
And there are new grunts. Annoying
there are,
grunts, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. Oh shit, yeah. Christ.
So there's definitely there are some things that pop. What's that?
There's a lot.
There's a lot of new stuff in here.
Yeah.
There's some familiarity, like you say, with the grunts and some of the tiles. But like, there's a lot of new, like you say, rings and things like that, and amulets and relics and gear and weapons and stuff, and bosses. It's a lot. There's a lot in there.
A new archetype to level up with all what comes with a new archetype. So your new tiers, your new abilities, your new there's new I've forgotten the word for them. The thing you put points into.
Oh, the traits.
Traits. Thank you. There's a new trait that comes with the archetype. I think we got a new trait from killing a boss.
We've definitely got a new trait.
Was that a new trait, or was that just a trait I hadn't got?
I forget, but basically, I guess the biggest compliment is it's an extra chunk of game that slots in perfectly and doesn't. It won't feel like a DLC level. It just feels like another one.
Yes,
and that's what it needs to feel like if they want to do this complete edition. But that's how it feels. So if you imagine, what Yaesha feels like. It feels a bit like that. I guess it's not a completely new location and style, but it is in terms of content. And if that's the standard of the DLC, then they're onto a good path, because it's a good few hours of content, and it's this whole, I didn't get that on this playthrough, so I can go and do that, or I didn't choose that option, so I annoyed that person. Now we're going to try and be nice to that. It's all of that.
But I mean, we played 5 hours together. Roughly, give or take 5 hours, and we had not finished fully exploring what we could see. Yeah. We had locked doors we had not solved, puzzles we had not solved, and I was also told and led to believe that even if you do solve all that, you cannot see everything the DLC offers in a single, which is the same for the rest of the game.
Yes,
like that's the whole idea. So throw that in, throw extra archetype. All the new enemies, which I don't know if those new enemies will infect them, like, because they're from Blossom, so maybe they will be in the game once that's.
Yeah, that I don't know.
It's really good. Do you know what? It's been a long time. Because I mean, we talked about Separate Ways a little bit with Resi 4, and like, I'm not denying that's fantastic. I haven't finished that yet, actually, but it is fantastic what I've played. But it is, and although it's not just the original, in the same way that Resi 4 Remake isn't just the original, they've expanded. This is like brand new, isn't it? Like, even Separate Ways is based upon something. I can't remember the last time someone did DLC like this, and I was really trying to think of the last time, like a really substantial. I'm going back to maybe the Mass Effect 2 era. When they put out like
it is very much like we spoke about this when we were playing it. It's like it is like you say, you have to go back to this is what DLC used to be.
That's what I mean.
Not just DLC in name only, but it's like, it's a proper meaty edition, and there's going to be more. To be fair, games like Dark Souls used to have it, whole new areas and bosses and stuff and gear and stuff. That's my. I haven't played Mass Effect, but that's my wheelhouse. Bloodborne, that kind of stuff. There
you go. So I mentioned that. Yeah, that was a substantial piece of DLC.
There are probably others that I can't think of that people. Will
there must be people doing it. There's a million games released every year, like that.
I mean, whenever you say the question to people, what do you want from DLC?
Yeah, this is what I want.
Give me 10 to 15% of the main game again with a load of new things on top. That's kind of, you go, if I could dream, that's what I'd want. Do that 3 times, I'm golden.
Yeah.
That's what you'd love. You don't often get it, but like that's, I guess, what people would probably ask for, right? And
I reckon. Yeah, that's
my only concern is, right, so we talked about it at the start, there's sort of 3 main areas, right? And they've confirmed 3 main DLCs. So my assumption, and this is totally guesswork, is that the next one will be a Yaisha and then there'll be a Neyrud.
Yeah.
That might piss people off. Like, I think people want that new, node on there as like a new. That might be asking.
There's
a bit
space
much.
for one, right?
There is space for one.
Make me fill my circle, so to speak. Like, come on. But you know what I mean? Like, it's there. I mean,
I'd just be interested to see how fans take this, because I know people will want a new biome. Is the word we're talking here. I'm fine with it. Like, there's no part of me playing this where I'm like, I really wish it was, like you say, a snow world. Like, I'm absolutely fine with this.
I think because of the way that they've done it, does genuinely make it like you're in that one rather than one of the others. I don't get me wrong. I think if they did a Yaisha 2 and a Neyrud 2, I'd be like, I would, if I could choose, I'd say, do me a Yaisha 2 and a new biome, but that would be me.
That might be what happens, though, if you think about it, because without spoiling anything here,
I know this.
There is a reason that Neyrud becomes inaccessible. Certain methods. Now that might mean nothing, or it might mean.
But no,
anyway,
I was thinking that
Remnant 2, The Awakened King, 2 big thumbs up from me. Like, fantastic. Like, 2 from Chris as well. Thumbs right up there. They're right up. And his circle has been filled.
Right up my circle.
It's been
his circle hasn't been filled. We talked about this.
No,
it's not filled yet. Someone needs to fill Heidi's circle.
I'm just... I can't even link to it. Speaking of filling circles, doesn't work. Lyle, you and I have been playing a tactics game. But not just any tactics game. It's Persona 5 Tactica.
We have.
Why didn't they just call it Persona 5 Tactics?
Someone tried to, but they've got fat fingers on the keyboard and they press the A.
Oh no! It's right next to the
S. Oh god, I can't unsee that now.
Yeah, that's what happened.
It's literally a spelling mistake, and no one's corrected them.
It was,
my typing,
isn't it? One email being sent internally. Oh, we're calling it Tactica now. Great. Okay.
Strange choice, but let's run with it. So, you did preview it. People could read that, but like we can talk about the game a bit more, openly now, I guess.
We can. Did we talk? I don't think we talked
No, we
about
didn't.
It
we didn't actually talk about it in a preview.
So
no.
We can talk about it fully.
Just
So Persona 5 Tactica is, I mean, what I was hoping from this game was like, I love tactics games. I love Persona 5. You just smush them together in any sort of standard way, and I'd be loving it. I'd be off to the races. I just, that just seems like a perfect match. There's been like Shin Megami Tensei tactics games before that are quite, sort of in that style of your Final Fantasy Tactics or your Triangle Strategy or whatever. But Persona 5 Tactica kind of like, isn't really like content with being just another tactics game. It's quite different to other tactics games, really. It's it's all on a grid and everything. You've got all your characters from Persona 5, as you'd imagine, or eventually you have all your characters from Persona 5, I guess we'll say. But you take.
Sorry, there was a moment early on when I was playing it where I was like, "This game seems like it might be quite short." Because of what you've just described.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it?
I was going to ask later about that because it's Persona and it's a tactics game.
So look,
is this 300 hours?
No, it's not like it's not 100, is it? But I thought it was going to be 10 for a minute.
Yeah, I also thought it was going to be 10 for a minute. In fact, you were what told me it wasn't because you were ahead of me at the time.
I was ahead at that point. This seems like it might be 10 hours, but that seems crazy if that's the case.
Yeah,
but would have been fine, by the way. But also crazy. Fine,
but it's closer to 3 times longer than that, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, even
that's
that
still
for a
fine.
Persona game's quite nice.
That's fine. If you want to release a 30-hour game, like that's fine. I spent 25 hours in Alan Wake 2. A Persona game being 30 hours.
Yeah.
Cool.
100%. So yeah, interesting about this Tactics game anyway, in terms of the gameplay, is so you'll take 3 characters into any battle. The battles are quite short as well, like they're 15 to 20, maybe 25, 30, pushing it on some levels, but not that
doable while having a plop.
Exactly, doable while having a plop, which is the ideal length for any section of video game, as far as I'm concerned.
It's my version of perfect for Switch, I think.
It is doable while having a plop. Shortish missions. You've got your 3 characters, but like the way the tactics work are like basically like cover's really important. So if any enemy or any of your characters are out of cover and get attacked somehow, that character that attacks them will get another turn in that sort of one more battle system that Persona has. So you kind of spend each level sort of trying to manipulate the enemies in the right way that you can sort of move from one to the next to the right sort of area to maybe unleash a special attack, which because you've got 3 characters, you've got these all-out attacks where...
Say the magic words to him, Lyle. Say what it is. Say what each battle is in this game, really.
Oh, each battle in this game is a puzzle, right?
Say it.
Each battle in this game is just... It's a little puzzle.
Yep.
A self-contained little puzzle. You sort of align all these things up so that you can use an all-out attack to hit as many enemies as possible. And the way that works is that an all-out attack damages every enemy that is in the triangle that your like characters make up the corner of.
And we know Chris likes triangles.
So it's like triangles and
so it's like a triangle strategy.
Triangle strategy game. Oh, you don't play those, sorry.
No, I feel really he's done this to himself.
Triangle strategy malarkey.
He's done this to himself, and I can't defend this.
But yeah, like it's just a really interesting setup, and like even on a base level, like with your sort of basic abilities, using those to solve sort of the puzzles of each stage, using things like explosive barrels to knock an enemy flying, or being on a higher level of elevation to an enemy so you get your advantage like from a gunshot there as well, or punching an enemy off a cliff and your character below shooting them as they like fall down automatically for like extra damage and another extra turn. All these things like work really well, but then on top of that, you also equip personas to each character, which give you different spells and different attacks. So you might focus on having an attack that is like in a huge area, so it'll damage loads of enemies at once, and you can kind of use that to just pick off all the stragglers that maybe your all-out attack couldn't do. Or maybe you'll have someone who has a psychic attack, which once you hit an enemy with it, the enemy like walks towards your character so that they'll be vulnerable, and you can follow that up with another character's attack. And alongside that, you can fuse all the personas together in that classic Persona / Shin Megami Tensei way. And you've got skill trees. Yeah. And you got your skill trees.
Yeah.
You've got it all. And then it's just... I think as well, one of the things I loved about it, I mean, obviously, like any Persona game has like style that is more impressive than any other game that is ever made. Like, I don't think Persona has ever been matched in terms of style of like menus and just like how flashy transitions are and all that sort of stuff. It has all that. And then the characters themselves, I think for most people, the thing that means that Persona 4 is on like a slightly higher pedestal than Persona 5 is that I think the characters in 4 are like a little bit more memorable, but I think because you don't spend as much time talking to them in this, there's kind of like a level of they're all sort of amped up to 11, so you kind of you like experience enough of them, and it just feels like, especially for a spin-off game, it's really impressive at like elevating those characters even more so, and they're already great.
With I don't think it's a spoiler, but there's a character you meet quite early on and you rescue quite early on who is not playable but becomes a part of your team. He's a male character. I'll just say black hair, mainly because I can't actually remember his name. He almost acts as the player's brain if you've never played one before. Because like when the first time he sees Anne and he reacts like, "What are you? What's going on? Like, why are you all wearing these things?" And like, "What do you mean you're going to do that?" And like he kind of acts as if he's almost like the avatar for anyone who doesn't know anything about Persona or Persona 5. I find because he asks the questions. Yeah, like Chris doesn't play them, and he would be like, "What? Yeah." But also, it only came to me when you were talking. I think I know why I like this so much. You talked about the personas, and it's done differently in this game to the other Persona games. How you equip personas.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII's materia, isn't it?
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, they give
just as you were
stat
talking
boosts
about it,
and
like,
different abilities alongside it. Yeah, I can see that.
It's like you
for
want
sure.
a fire materia, and you can then when you start fusing it, and it's not 1-to-1, but just as you were describing, it's like, that sounds like, and like maybe that's what. But it is also because I was waiting for you to say about the style, and it is like everything you said is all true, and it all plays mechanically fantastically, and it's got that style that's like. I play these games, and I'm like, other developers must look at their menu transition animations and go, how do they get the budget to do this? Because I feel like most companies would go, you want to spend money doing what? Just press start and have a fucking screen appear so they can. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, totally.
But also the puzzle stuff I mentioned earlier. There are quests in this game that are like side missions.
They're like specific,
and they
puzzles,
are absolute. I'm trying to desperately draw on a comparison, but these are very much like finish this in 2 turns, and the only
sometimes one turn.
It's XCOM. It's Marvel's Midnight Suns did it. Like there were these side missions that were very much like there is one way of doing this. There's one way to do this, and you have to basically because you'll look at it and you'll go, well, there's 10 enemies and I've got 3 characters. How the hell can I do this in 1 turn? And it's all about the one mores, the combo in, all that stuff. And it's like there are some of them. I did all of them in the first world, and then when I got to the second, I think it ramps up a bit. I was like, you're a bastard, because I know what you want me to do roughly. And I think one of them it ended up being I had to position the all-out attack in a manner that it caught everyone, and I just wasn't seeming to be able to get this last enemy. So it was like every time I did it, I was like, I can't get him, and it keeps failing me because of that. So like outside of, because you can just play the battles as battles. You don't have to. You do get rewarded for doing them well and doing them in few turns, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. Like as if they're a quest, but the quests are very much work out how to fix this puzzle, solve this puzzle. Whereas the other battles, you could spend, if you really wanted to, you could spend 15 turns, and you do get crap rewards, but you could do it, and it wouldn't punish you for it, other than not rewarding you.
And it's quite sort of forgiving, really, with that sort of thing. Like, it doesn't... Like, I don't feel like, in terms of most of the main missions, that I was ever like, oh, I'm not going to be able to beat this. It was more, I might not beat this particularly optimally. Like, it might take me a bit longer, or maybe one character will go down, and I'll have to tag someone else in. But you even... That just happens, and you lose a reward. But you can basically play through with... I think on the normal difficulty, you can, have 3 characters to start with and have all 3 of them die and tag to someone else, and there's no punishment. They're just there next turn, ready to use. Like, it's not sort of like you're maybe not doing it the way that the developers would like you to do it, and you maybe won't feel as like, I nailed this mission, but you'll get through it. Like, it's not a big deal. And there's like quite a few difficulty options alongside that as well, for if you want to go hardcore, if you want to go much less hardcore, all those things are fine. It's weirdly quite accessible for a tactics game, while also being quite very dense, really. And you have to solve some of those later puzzles. I mean, I think even to solve some of them in that first,
there is one in the first,
tough ones. Yeah.
Like,
you really have to know what you're doing and how all these systems link up together. But yeah, it's like. It's a really interesting, totally different tactics game. I don't really think anything's quite done anything like this before. It managed to capture Persona perfectly, and I don't really think I've played a tactics game that I've enjoyed more in quite a long time. I think I liked it more than Triangle Strategy last year, and that was great.
I wouldn't disagree. I mean, it's interesting to me because I know this is like a tactics game, an SRPG or whatever they call them, strategy RPGs. I'm a big fan of turn-based combat, generally speaking. So there is an argument to be made that, like, actually Persona 5 Strikers is like the most different Persona 5 because it is a Musu, essentially. But it was way more than just a Musu. This is, Persona 5 Royal is a turn-based RPG. Yeah. Persona 5 Tactica is a turn-based RPG that's... Do you know what I mean? There's it's on a grid, and it's not. So there is a lot of comparison, but I would argue that because of this feels much more finishable to me than Royal ever did. Like I was wondering, let's say I was like, how long is this? Because it seems like it actually could be short, but it just can't. There was, as we were chatting, let's say, there was no part of me that believed it. It was like something's going to happen. Like even if it's a case of they
sure.
take all my characters away again or something, like something's going to happen. And when you get to the second world and you realise what it is, and then you realise, okay, there's going to be a second world and a third world, blah blah blah. You realise roughly how, like you said, 30 hours. I would say I haven't finished it.
Yeah, it's I mean, once you've played a couple of missions, I think it's revealed. They revealed like in like their own press releases and stuff that it's like over 60 stages total. So like when you know how long a stage is, you can kind of work out about how long it'll take you. And yeah, it's
And
for
if
a
there's
Persona
over
game
60,
reasonable.
there's less than 70. Do you know what I mean? You can work it.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, but they're clever about it. Like there's reasons to replay. It's not the sort of thing I would do, but I could imagine people replaying on harder. You can just replay the missions themselves to grind if you want to. Like you said about the accessibility, there's the quests. There's probably other stuff I'm forgetting, but there's a lot of game here. Like it's not. I don't really know why I would have even thought it or anyone would think it, because after Strikers, you could see that they are taking the spin-off seriously. And this is another
100%.
really, really good one. Like, it's a really good game.
I think it's easy for people when you hear like the phrase spin-off to be like, oh, why aren't they making Persona 6 now? And it's like, these spin-offs are really, really good. Like, it's not that sad. I mean, obviously, when Persona 6 comes, eventually, in like 10 more years' time, obviously, it will be like it will be this landmark game. It'll probably, well, I suppose it could be really shit, but probably not.
Imagine.
So, yeah, that would be disappointing. But like, you know, it's going to be this big thing when something like that does release. But like the spin-off stuff that comes out in between is wildly good in all sorts of different genres. Be you a fan of rhythm games, fighting games, or now tactics games.
Did we get a 5 dancing? I can't remember.
I think so. Yeah,
but
yeah,
we haven't had a
I'm sure
5
we did.
arena, have we?
No, I don't.
Persona
think so.
4 Arena
That's
got
next,
redone. That's what I was trying to work out. Did they do? They did, because it was 3, 4, 5 dancing, wasn't it? They did them as a package. I
It
think.
was, yeah.
So there is possibly another one. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't, because then that said, the developer who usually works them access is pretty busy at the moment with a lot of games. So maybe, who knows? Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
It's really good,
you
everyone.
need another good game. You need another good game. That's what we're hurting for good games this year, aren't we? Like, you just need one
We've
more.
barely had any.
Yeah, which is why I suppose it's it would be awful if like a game that was in early access last year like hit 1.0 this week and was like fucking brilliant. That would be so annoying, Lyle.
Yeah, I'd hate if there were just more great games to play, that's for sure. But and unfortunately that is true, because Astral Ascent is now out, and I think we might have talked about it very briefly, like once upon a time on the podcast, probably last year.
I want to say it was because we both played enough of it to be like, this is going to be good.
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll come back to it. And here we are.
And here we are.
And we were right.
I mean, we were really right. Yeah, like 100% we were right. It's basically, I mean, I would say it's a roguelike, but it's a Dead Cells-like, really, isn't it? It's one of those games that's gone, Dead Cells, that was really, really good. But I don't think anyone's quite matched Dead Cells before this.
What was that one you reviewed that...
Have a Nice Death.
Yeah, it was really good, really cool game. But I mean, look, we're talking about the pinnacle of the genre here, Dead Cells. Like,
exactly. Like, it's like saying a 3D platformer isn't as good as Mario Odyssey. It's like, you can hardly say, and so it's shit after that. No. Well, obviously, it's worse than the best of the best, or at least, you know, it's very likely to be. But I think Astral Ascent is on the Dead Cells level. It is like this action, like 2D action roguelike, where you have all these different skills that sort of cycle in a different way, and I don't even know where to start. It's got so many bits to it, hasn't it? So yeah, you'll go off on your adventure to beat all these Zodiac themed bosses, and there are 4 different themed worlds, and the main thing is that you'll sort of be doing this 2D platforming action combat that involves, you know, a few little combos, a few magic sort of abilities that use your MP. You've got like a dash that makes you invincible so that you can dodge all the ridiculous over-the-top attacks that are coming your way. And you get all the random upgrades and all the random different types of rooms and stuff. So you have like a cycle of 4 different spells. So once you use one, then you move on to the next one in this like lineup of 4 spells you have equipped, which are like your main special move, but there's actually quite a few other types of special move as well. But we'll ignore that for now. But that's kind of like the main crux of the game, is that you like sort of cycle through these moves. So you kind of have to figure out what you want to equip where. So you might have one attack where it leaves 3 mines in a row and they'll explode and deal lots of damage to enemies.
So I wanted to ask you about this. Do you spend much time, because you can so this, as you say, bottom left corner, you've got your 4 spells that as you hit your triangle button or Y or whatever you're playing it on,
that position.
The up one of the 4, or whatever console you're on, it cycles through them with your mana. You can rearrange them.
You can.
I haven't, because
I never do either. It feels like a little bit too much.
Well, that's the thing, but do you think there's, I hate to say it, like a meta here where it's going to be like, if you can get these 4 spells and arrange them in that 4 order, because I can't think why else it would be there.
Yeah, it is kind of odd, but like it's one of those things where it's kind of cool that you have this button where like it's one of 4 things, and it's like.
Because do you ever remember what you're actually going to get next?
I like occasionally I'll remember, after this one comes this one, but I'll never know the full cycle of 4.
Christ,
like
no.
I'll more be
it's too much happening for you to know. Like,
yeah. And it doesn't normally matter, but there are a few where it's important to know, I guess. Like there's one where you create like a decoy of yourself that explodes and do like a backward jump out of the action, which is like really useful to have if things are a bit hairy.
Yes.
But I mean, at the same time as well, if you're next to an enemy and you use it and you don't expect it to happen, it's still going to damage the enemy. You're probably not going to mind that much.
The only times I've noticed it being any kind of issue is there's 2 spells. One is where you like become like a whirlwind spinning your weapon, and I've not realised that's next, and I've not been near a boss, and I've been like, you twat. And the other one would be, sometimes. When the ones where you jump up and sort of splay out below you. Again, it's normally in a boss encounter where it's 1v1, and I'm doing that thinking I'm going to shoot like a Hadouken style fire, but it's like he's over there, and I'm just throwing it beneath me, and I'm like, okay. But that again is about me whiffing. It's whiffing essentially in a. Oh my god, this game's good. Go on, sorry, this game's.
Yeah, I mean, like this is the most base level scratching the surface of what there is in this game, because like you've got like permanent upgrades that you'll have throughout the game. There are 4 different characters that all have entirely different abilities in spells and move sets and all this sort of stuff, that all you individually unlock new powers for each of them as you play. I believe you can play it co-op as well with.
I remembered that as you were talking. I was like, I haven't done that. Yeah, you're right.
I've not done that yet either. But that's one of those things where I'm like, that's kind of wild. Like imagining playing it with 4 people is kind of bizarre. And then you've got all these different themed zones. So there's like the first world is nice and foresty, and you've got like there are a few different things that you can take advantage of, like little orbs that shoot out extra damaging projectiles when you hit them, so you can kind of use them to your advantage, and bouncy mushrooms and things like that. And then, there is a desert and a sea world and all that sort of stuff. The bosses are great.
Yeah.
The bosses are really, really good. The bosses are like screen loads of attacks and like really having to learn all these different moves. Like there's one boss really early on, I think it's like the second one you'll probably fight in the first world, where the whole screen just fills with like a grid of lasers and it changes really rapidly, and there's just like a little hole to get in each time. And yeah, it's just one of those things where you'll very slowly learn how to beat these things and maybe do better, and especially do better because you upgrade yourself permanently in between. And then like, I feel like I'd just be listing features of the game carrying on, really, because there's.
I can help you out a little bit, because there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. I think it does. I'd have to play. I haven't played Dead Cells in a while. I love it. Like, it's same game for me, but I haven't played it like this week, which perhaps I should. But this does a couple of things that I think it does. Again, I don't know if it's as good as or better, but it's either one or the other. It's not worse than. I think the difficulty of this is superb. Like once you beat the first boss, you will beat that first boss each time. I have not failed at the first boss since beating the first boss, which ties into the fact that the progression is maybe the best I've ever seen in this kind of game. Like I have not yet had a run where afterwards I didn't meaningfully upgrade and feel stronger my next run, and it's still introducing new things to me. Like there are these weird tickets you can get at some point which just unlock cosmetics for you. Like you can go to another vendor who unlocks, like, now I've got silver hair, whereas I had like bluish purple before. I don't know, don't have to do it, it's up to you, but it's there. And also there's a guy you can go to. So even when you feel like you had a shit run, say you killed 50 enemies, that 50 enemies is counted towards like a mini in-game achievement. I don't mean like pop achievement. So like it will be like kill 1,000 enemies. So you are totting up towards that even. And then when you do complete one of these achievements, and there are combat, traversal, there's all find enough lore, all these different kinds of achievements in the game. It's not a new system. Like loads of games do that, but they give you currency that you can spend on your character to permanently upgrade them. So you are, like I say, you are always progressing. And I don't think I've played a game, even Dead Cells, that does that as well. I know at the end of Dead Cells, you'll be able to, you can put your cells into like unlocking the weapon so it's available next run. This does have that sort of mechanic where you can unlock magic, which is equivalent to. But the fact you can always be upgrading, because it's more RPG-like, I guess, in that you can use your currency to upgrade your health or your strength. Yeah. And even then, there's loads of them I haven't even unlocked to know what they are on that page. Yeah. It's just non-stop evolution. I'm really impressed with it. And the boss battles, like what you said, is all true. All the the screen filling shit, it's all true. But I feel like they are proper. The difficulty, this is what I'm saying about the difficulty, I feel they are really good tests of you understanding the mechanics of the game. As you progress through whatever it is, 10 levels towards the boss, you've got your spells all specced out, you've bought this, you've bought that, you've done all what you need to do, and because you kind of know what's coming, and I mean, you don't always, but you know that the first boss is coming, so you might know you want to do this, that, or the other. You know roughly what you might get for the second boss roll. I never felt cheated. It's one of those where, like, when I die to a boss, I'm like, I missed my dodge. I knew I had a couple of. It's a bit like a FromSoft game where do you know that thing? And everyone's done this. And if you say you haven't, you're a liar. Where you took that extra hit because they had a tiny bit of health left, and you're like, on the buttons, and it gets you, and you're like, that's my fault. Mm-hmm. Totally my fault.
If I'd just been patient,
backed off, let him swing. And it's like jumping in and poking him again, dead. And this game does that for me in spades. Like, it is one of those. The times I've died to bosses, it's been like, oh, you impatient twat. Like, just, you got low health, he's got low health, he's going to do an attack, and there's a delay, you can dodge through it, you can, like, so when you're what's her name? Is it Ira?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm not for certain how you say that either.
No, I've heard it. I can't remember.
It says it out loud. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. There's another guy, like the intro guy. Like, I didn't know this until today when I started. I thought I'm gonna try on Switch and I'm gonna try it. I'll be a bit different. I'm gonna play as a Kieran character. And one of our listeners won't like this, but I don't know if it gets better. But Kieran's a bit of an asshole in this game. Like, he's not the most likable of characters compared to the other ones I've met. Anyway. But when you're playing as the what I would call the main protagonist, the female one, you press left trigger and it does like this. You zoom to them once you've done enough damage. It's like a regenerating ability. Yeah. You zoom to them and do this really powerful, like, you dash behind them.
It's like a backstabbing, basically.
I thought that would be the same for him because, like, the combat in the hole is not. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? I just keep popping a shield around me and it doesn't seem to be doing it. And I realised that you pop that just before they attack you, and it's kind of a parry. And if they hit you while you're using this Orby shield thing, you do a devastating attack to them like that. And I haven't unlocked the other two characters, so I'm presuming they've got an equivalent. Like,
that's all the. It's kind of wild as well, the fact that there are 4 characters, because this is a game where you're playing it with your, like, I mean, I suppose you start with 2 characters technically. Yes. But you're playing it as the starting character because you will be. And it doesn't feel like this is like 1/4 of a game and not maybe as fleshed out as it needs to be, because there are, all these different abilities they've got set to other characters. Like, it's this full-fledged game. It is literally like playing a game like Dead Cells and just suddenly being like, what, I've been playing with 1/4 of the shit I could be. What the fuck? And then you switch to someone else and it's like their basic combos different, their left trigger attacks different, like everything about how they work is totally different. Their starting spells are different.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you as well, because as you say, you can unlock spells. There's like a main list of spells that I think are the ones you find by playing. Then each character has their own individual spell list you can unlock. Are they different? Like, would you get ones that aren't available to Kieran? Okay, I thought so.
There's a few, there are like some generic spells that kind of can come up on any of them. But like, for the most part, each character kind of has their own spells that are completely different and work totally differently and are just like exclusive to them. Because yeah, the third character who was unlocked in early access, like as like the last big update before now, they have guns, so they're like a gunslinger, and they were one of my favorite characters. I really enjoy playing as them. And yeah, they have their own stuff as well. I mean, they all do, but there's a ridiculous amount to this game, but it doesn't really feel too overwhelming, especially if you're kind of like familiar with, you know, this sort of thing. And like you say, the upgrades are just like they feel so good when you get them. Like you always feel that slow boost in power, and you also always feel like you kind of need it. Like it definitely doesn't make it feel like, oh, and now suddenly it's trivial. Like that first boss will still get you if you're not paying attention.
Oh yeah.
Like not even close to being a breeze to get through. Like that boss is still a hard boss. It's just that if you have, you know, kind of got used to the attack patterns, you'll probably get through taking a few hits instead of all the hits and dying massively.
We haven't even mentioned how good it looks.
Oh, it is got. Yeah, I did want to mention. I did want to make sure that like it is a ridiculously drop dead gorgeous game. Like it has really beautiful pixel art, and then it's got like the character art for each character when you talk to them as like these like just beautiful almost illustrations of these sort of different animalish characters. And yeah, it's really cool in basically every way. It is. I mean, so we are in mid-November now, and I've talked about 2 games today that have both snuck onto my top 10 list. That's what's happened. I mean, I can't say for certain that both of them are going to stay there because I'm currently playing in the background secretly Mario Wonder, and you know I have plenty of other games in the background that I need to make sure I play. And yeah, you know. Indeed. We'll still shuffle things up, but like at the moment, my top 10 list, like the number 10 now, would feel like it could compete with a number 1 in other years. Like
it's stupid.
Wild.
Actually, I've been saying this to Adam. Like it is going to be the year of. In any other year, this game, and it's just going to be that for the whole.
God forbid if anyone's playing a drinking game and they have to take a shot every time one of us says that on the Game of the Year podcast.
Other year, yeah.
What I will say before we move on as well is because I don't think this is a game that people are going to be. It's not, like, with no disrespect to it, it's sort of had the same. It was in early access like Dead Cells and is now out, but I don't think this has had anywhere near the sort of hype that Dead Cells had, and I do think it really warrants a bit more attention. So what I will say is, of course, it also. Sorry, I was going to also mention it does play exactly as you'd want it to, if that makes sense. Like when you play Dead Cells, it's got that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, it is out now. November the 14th is the release date in 1.0. It is coming to Switch, where it's absolutely fine. Like, there's no. I don't mean to. You know, I can't say there's anything wrong with it, if you know what I mean. So it's like it feels the same as I played on Steam Deck, so and on PC, and it just feels the same. And it is also coming to PS4 and PS5, so out now. And like, if you've watched this, you'll have the video version of this. YouTube.com/GodIsGeek. You'll see some video footage of it being played, and you can make an informed decision. But it is, it's pretty damn good. But the only thing worse than that, I guess, would be if like a game that came out 5 years ago, was like somehow given DLC, and was like, someone had to play that. That would be. Oh,
who would be the one who had to play that in this month of catch up?
6 years ago.
Well, I said this to my kids earlier because it was a Switch release title, right? But it actually came out on Wii U, so I don't even know when I reviewed that original game. I don't even know if I did review the original game. Someone did. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah. I was fully prepared to start pretending that I was playing another game's DLC for this section, because I'm playing so much fucking DLC right now. Like, I was expecting you to sort of lead in with a, like, and you're also playing another DLC, aren't you, Lyle? And I was going to be like, oh yeah, the Dredge DLC, or Tales of Arise DLC.
The thing is, I didn't, because you've never played Mario Kart 8 on Switch. So in my head, I'm thinking it's not. I know you played it on Wii U, but to me, it's like this is a, it's a bigger package, so to speak. So like,
it is. Yeah, it is. It is sort of newer to me, and it feels new to me because I don't fucking remember the tracks from Mario Kart 8 that I played on Wii U and played a lot of on Wii U. Like, it's been a while. That Wii U hasn't been plugged in for a little bit, guys. It's been up there. It's been there every time we've been recording. Yeah. So Mario Kart 8. It's the best kart racing game that has ever been made ever. And anyone who says otherwise is incredibly wrong, and I'm sorry. It's just
Even we agree on that.
I think this is. I think on this occasion we do have to say this is a factual piece of information.
Yeah. It pretty much is at this point. Yeah, I mean, I guess if someone really wanted to like try to lean on like the what about not having a single player campaign like some other kart racers have had. That's like the closest thing I can think of.
Oh yeah, there's not an elephant on a flying carpet, so it's not the best kart game ever made.
No racist elephants.
Yeah,
5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is the best kart racing game, and because of the DLC booster pass, that I don't necessarily think a lot of people have been paying that much attention to, as it's been happening. It now has double the tracks.
Yeah. 48 tracks.
It's insane, right? Because, like, I remember when they first announced it, right? Because they announced they were doing this.
Yeah,
it did have a big fanfare at first. People were excited, like more Mario Kart.
Yeah, and they said like that will mean it's double, and we're like, wow, and then everyone forgot. Yeah, and I think because I love Mario Kart, but like again, it falls into the I have no friends to play it with, and there's only so much online you can do, and you move on to the next thing, right? So I think I remember playing like the first DLC back in 2018 or whenever that bloody thing came out, or whatever it was.
I think it was last year, man. You know, I don't think
I think it's 2 years ago.
Do you think 2 years?
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
I was being facetious, but like, I remember playing the first one, the first new tracks, and then I always thought I must go back now. There's like wave 2. I was like, I must go back now. There's wave 4.
6.
Like, yeah, and you just like crap. I just haven't.
48 new tracks, 8 new characters. There's something else I'm forgetting, but there is something else as part of that DLC. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous game.
It was ridiculous before.
It was.
Yeah. It was. Before this happened, it was still the best kart racing game ever.
Yes.
And now it is double that.
Now all they've done is make it impossible for themselves to follow it up.
I don't know how they do Mario Kart 9. I genuinely don't. That is the one bad thing about this, because like they've doubled the tracks. How many characters now? 105? Something like that?
It's a full screen of them.
Yeah, it's a screen. It's like
a screen of tiny icons.
And you can pick which colour Yoshi you want as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So
And Birdo.
Right, I didn't even know that. But like, I will say, just to quickly mention before I forget, I love the Wiggler character in this. I love that addition because, again, I wouldn't have noticed if they just put Wiggler on the back of a motorbike, and that would have been fine. But if Wiggler gets hit, he turns red and the sort of steam comes out of his ear for a few seconds. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if they even needed to, but they did.
I feel like Nintendo are just going through it's a really good phase where they're just like, we don't have to do this. Like the whole Mario Wonder shimmy through pipe things and the animations and stuff.
It's showing off. Say it. It's showing off.
It is, but it's like. But it's in a good way. It's not obtuse or anything. It's just like, we don't need to do it. It's a little bit twee, but fuck it, it's great. And they just do it. Whereas other games just wouldn't add it in. I just love it. It's just
I will also add, as part of the animation stuff as well, there's a Rainbow Road level. I think it is one of the... Well, it won't mean much to you if you're playing all at once, but it's one of the later ones, like one of the really late ones in Wave 6, I think. I don't think which game was it. It wasn't a DS game. I can't think which one it was.
I think they added the 3DS and the Wii Rainbow Road, so it's one of those.
It might not be very helpful, but it's one where you go up and down barriers and off. Anyway, there's a moment where you go off a jump and you use the parachute thing as you sort of go towards stars. And I've played that and watched someone else play that, and it's like, this game, I don't care how old it is absolutely gorgeous.
It really is nice. It's gorgeous. I got a bit emotional, but like it is a really nice looking game. And it is.
And when you're talking about those little details, like how you were talking about the animation in Mario Wonder, like every one of these stages in like the background or to the sides, you'll have like just models of different Mario like enemies that you won't have thought of in like years.
And you only notice them if you've like paused it or you've crashed into something and you just stopped. That's the only time you ever notice. Like, and you go,
so there's one where you're in a garden and like there's Topiary Peach and Topiary Mario. I played a bit online and I was just intrigued. It's like, will I get a game? Yep, straight away, no problem at all. Straight away, full match.
I mean, there's what is it? Something stupid like 50 million that it's
Yeah,
sold or something. It's absolutely batshit crazy. Like fair play. Like
Yeah. And like in terms of the tracks themselves in the DLC booster course stuff, they're like there's a lot that are old tracks that that have been modernized to a level that you can't even tell. Like if you hadn't played that Mario Kart game, no one would play like Mario Circuit 3 in this game and think that's an old level because it's got like all this elevation and jumps.
It was Bowser's Castle for me.
Bowser's
I
Castle
have played this level a billion times. Bowser's Castle snares. I know this. I could play this blindfold, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
because like I've not played all of it, but like obviously there's different ones in this. Like Rainbow Road snares is on there. I think that's actually one of the core ones. But like,
I think it is.
Like the track just bumps up and down and stuff like this. There's a little touch like that, and there's like
they have made use of what they've built with Mario Kart 8's mechanics to tweak the originals.
I know I've got to go left and right where I've got to go left and right, but I can't just play it like it's the SNES track. Do you know what I mean?
Like the 3DS one, that was Mario Kart. Was that DS? What was Mario Kart 7? Was that DS or 3DS?
I think that was.
But that one was like originally the most obscene selling game. Like it was just. Every week it was still in charts. It was like it sold so mad the amount of numbers that, and like everyone,
one, isn't it? By far now.
I think so.
I would guess so, but at the time, 7 was like.
Oh, I think at the
there was
time,
nothing even close.
Just blown everything
at all.
More, I think.
But the reason I say it is because I played, like we all probably did, a lot of 7 on that handheld, and I'm playing these levels, and I'm like, I definitely don't. Am I ill? Like
that same thing. Like it's and I think. Especially that the 3DS one, like I think that was the one that introduced like the gliders and the underwater things. Yes. So like that's even like kind of close to what there is here, but they still don't feel like those old stages. It feels like they've added so many bits. They've added little zero gravity bits, so many tweaks and upgrades.
The only bit really, like I say, is that you know the layout of the course.
Yeah.
The first time you play it gives you half a chance because you know where it's going to go left and right, but you don't know how to treat it. Like,
no, not at all. It's not the same in that regard.
Like I remember playing like the Donut Plains one from the SNES, and I was like, "This is going to be boring as fuck. It's just going to be flat."
Yeah,
it
pretty simple.
It feels because it's like an underwater section and stuff, and it just feels like they've taken the essence of it and gone, well, if we were doing that type of track now, what could it look like? Do you know what I mean?
The Excite Bike one's fantastic, and that is literally a circle.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. It should be like, but it's like, I think because the chaotic nature of just everything firing off at everyone, when you're doing a race that is essentially a circle, just a circuit, it actually feels like less unfair sometimes.
I mean,
you can see
arguably
everyone.
the best track is Baby Park. Let's not pretend otherwise. And that is literally two turns.
I don't know that it is now. There's some cracking
I'm
tracks.
sure there is.
Yeah.
Like,
I particularly like that Rainbow Road one.
You never used to get that one and go, it's crap because it's just turning right.
There's a what's the one? I won't get the name of it, but where I think it was an original base game one where you're like it's not laps. You're climbing a mountain. I think what is it? It's Donkey Kong.
Oh, the Wario Mountain one. It's like
was it
3
Wario's
sections.
Yeah,
because
there's a few more of them in the DLC.
Downwards, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You go all the way up, and there's a few of them in the DLC, isn't there, Lyle?
The DLC one and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Which one?
The DLC tracks.
F-Zero.
The F-Zero one, the Mute City, I think it is.
Mute City,
the DLC. One of the things that is very cool about the DLC is they've taken. I mean, I think anyone who sort of looked at the real track lists that they kept showing will have seen that there are a lot from Mario Kart Tour.
Well, yeah.
So they're like real world location type levels, and what's really cool about those levels is I think every single one of them, in fact, will have a lap 1 where you go one route round the city, and then a lap 2 where you go a different route round the city, and then a lap 3 where you do the same. And occasionally you'll come across similar bits, but it's really interesting. And like you like it'll take a lot to remember exactly where you're going there, but like you'll be going through Madrid, and suddenly you'll be in like an art gallery. And
one of them reminded me of Crazy Taxi. I played it today. There's taxis everywhere and stuff, like yellow cabs. I guess that must be an American one.
I think
because I must admit,
when
I saw that they were going to add stuff from the mobile one,
I
think and probably a lot of people will be like, kind of just want the SNES and the... But
Yeah,
actually,
give me
like you
N64.
say, it's fine. They're good.
And I think for a lot of people, they will be like new tracks as
New
well,
tracks.
realistically, because people did not like. I don't think a lot of people who like. I don't think 50 million people played the mobile one, or at least played it enough to, know that all these different levels and stuff. And then alongside that as well, there are like, it's not that many that are like actual brand new tracks, but the ones that they are fantastic. My favorite track easily is the Yoshi's Island one, which is
great.
just like it's got that sort of like crayon-y pastel look to it, and like the start of the race will have the little like drum beat from the start of a level of Yoshi's Island, and you fly through the like ring of flowers as the goal, and there's as you fly through a bit that's like in midair, there's one of the like the question mark clouds with the wings, and if you fly through it, it reveals a little staircase you can drive on, which is a shortcut. And like it's just got like little elements from the world map and enemies that like have only appeared in that game and stuff like that. And it's just like it's a fantastic homage to that game and just a really fun track to play. And then alongside that, there's a Christmas themed track. Imagine how much I fucking love that.
There's Animal Crossing ones like Zelda. The Link's in it now, and you can ride Link's bike. Like I said, the Animal Crossing one, I'm sure they replaced. It was either sound effects. I can't remember now because I haven't seen it in a while. No, I don't think they replaced the coins with apples, but there are like the Animal Crossing apples and stuff. And
yeah, there was one. Yeah. I think the Zelda one did that with rupees as well.
That's what it might be. What I might be thinking
the base Switch one. Yeah,
like there is no part of any of this DLC that's lazy, and that's crazy. I mean, especially when you consider. I wonder how many people are actually buying the DLC. Like, I think is it 20 quid? I think, but like you could pay that and get them all, and you get a year subscription as well. Like so, like
well, they're doing it so that you buy the subscription, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I wonder how many people are actually just going, I'm going to buy the Mario Kart DLC. I wonder if they'll put out a version of it. I don't think they could, because otherwise they're de-incentivizing the NSO membership, aren't they? Because that is probably the biggest thing. But it's that game where you play it and you're like, why have I not been playing this? Why am I not playing this game? Like it's
Yeah, and it does not feel like an old game.
No.
It doesn't feel even slightly like it's like, oh, I'm playing an old Wii U game here. It feels just like it could have released this week, and and now it's double the content, and you should play it. It's the easiest recommendation I could give, unless you really hate kart racing games, I guess.
But like, we started it off by saying like, what would they do next? I don't think I want the next. I think I'd rather they just did more of it, like just more tracks, more new tracks. That's fine. I don't need anything mechanic. Like we didn't mention it because it's sort of part of the original Deluxe version, but they added a lot of battle mode stuff to the Deluxe version that wasn't in the Wii U. Like it's a very complete game. Very complete game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could not think of a single thing you would add other than, I guess, more. But you just also don't really need more now because
is there a character missing? Is Waluigi and Wario in it? I can't remember. I think they are.
Surely they are.
Yeah, they definitely are.
I imagine there are some characters. You could play as the little flower from Mario Wonder who says fun things.
That would have been smart. They should have done that. They should have done that at Mario Wonder stage. It's odd how often Nintendo don't tie in things. Like there wasn't a new Mario game in time for the movie. Do you know what I mean? It's odd how sometimes they don't bother to tie stuff in. Like it would have been really sensible to have had one of the courses be a new one if you're driving around Wonder, like with and you get a Wonder Seed,
Wonder Seed, and it all goes wild. Yeah,
or even like you say, just have that talking flower in the film, and people go, "What the fuck's that?" And then the next direct, they're like, "Well, it's this, you motherfuckers!" Like,
what if Super Mario Kart Wonder?
That's
what if that's the next
possible
game? Now everything's
oh Jesus!
Wonder.
Could you imagine if someone gets an item for a Wonder Flower and the whole track just fucking changes?
Yes.
I mean, there you go. There you go, Nintendo. Lock it in.
You did it. We've got the idea.
Yeah.
All we needed was for someone else to come up with a really good idea before us, and we take that game and turn it into a kart racer. On that note, we're not doing any listener correspondence this week because we've got a lot of games to talk about, and we forgot to ask for questions, so that's one thing. And so it just remains to say that if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can get it early by going to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, where you can find out all about the membership there, get into our Discord, chat to our community, ask questions directly to us about, for the podcast and stuff. You can also, if you don't know, if you just listen to this the old-fashioned way audio, there is a video version where you'll see footage of the games interspersed and our lovely mugs on screen for you. If that's the sort of thing that you enjoy, you can see Chris's circle being filled live
Fill my
on
circle.
a podcast.
It's a cursed podcast.
Other than that, you can find us on all social medias. One day I'll get that right. I don't know why I say that.
You're doing it on purpose.
No, that one wasn't. I'm not saying I've never done it on purpose, but that one wasn't. I really wasn't. I'm just becoming that old now that there's social mediums. It's like I've just become that old. But you can follow on all those social mediums. And thank you very much to Chris Hyde and to Lyle for being here. Thank you, chaps.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been
lovely
fun to be
podcast,
back.
Isn't it? It's been just a joyous example of just joyous video game. Like, I don't think anyone said anything bad about anything. It's just been lovely. Just the tonic you need to make you feel good in these. It won't stop raining here. No, don't ruin it. It's good. Everything's positive. Happy. Thank you very much, and we will speak to you in the next episode or whenever you choose to listen. Bye bye for now.